oftentimes in a match, there's that final blow that will knock out an opponent. Well, that actually translates to our conclusion. If you've ever read an article that you've been moved by, and then lastly, you're left with the final takeaway, and that just leaves you maybe convinced. maybe you were reading in Los Angeles Times an editorial piece about why you should ditch that fossil fuel car and get electric vehicle. And after you've read the article, you read the conclusion, and you're like, oh, that's like your last takeaway, and you've been convinced. And the writer fulfilled their objective there of convincing you. Because remember, writing performs social action. Writing does something. There's always an objective, yeah? So, okay, let's talk about the conclusion in essays. That's what this video is going to be on. So go back to our section here. Here, this is important. Float on top. There we go. Okay, you're going to click this one that says Conclusion Guidelines. Real talk, guys. One time after class, I found this worksheet in the classroom. Another teacher had left it. I'm like, wow, this is really cool. It's helpful. So check this out. The conclusion. So when creating a concluding paragraph, provide the reader with an overview of the main ideas you discussed and highlight the progression of your thought process. Offer solutions and next steps, or present new questions that your paper generated. Don't only restate your thesis, but show the significance of your synthesis of the information. Hey, there's another vocab word. A synthesis is just a combination of things, right? So we operate with a synthesis when we're writing an academic essay, because when we're bringing in other sources to create this larger conversation, we're combining them into a larger conversation. That's a synthesis, right? Make connections. Okay, so ultimately, a conclusion is just the final takeaway for the reader. What's that? What's something that you want to make sure that they take away after reading this, right? So here's some helpful frameworks to bear in mind when creating a concluding paragraph. So restate your thesis using different words. The restatement should have the same meaning as the original thesis statement. So you don't have to, you don't have to write word for word your thesis statement again, but no, you want to reaffirm again what the whole project was of your paper, yeah? What was the whole reason that you wrote it? Reaffirm it, okay? It's the final takeaway for the reader. Remind the reader about the main ideas or events in your work. Again, it's the final takeaway for the reader. So here's what I want you to take from this. This is so important. This is what I'm leaving you with. And then the connect. Oh, answer the so what question. Okay. So I'm really big on this. This is known as an implication, the implications of something. That's the so what question. When you address the implications of something, you're answering the so what question. Here's why it matters. Here's why it's important. Here's why you should care. Here's why you should act now. Those are the implications. That's the so what question. Use the following questions to guide your work. Did you propose any solutions? Well, certainly in that research paper that's issued in solution, that would apply. Are there any solutions yet to be discovered? What questions still need to be answered? Here's the implications. So what? What's the larger significance of the topic that you chose to write about? What should the reader do or think after reading your paper? So listen, when somebody writes something, there was a fire in them. There was something that led them to write about that topic. And that word, my friends, is called exigency. It's a good one. An urgent need or demand. Oh, exigency. So you will feel an exigency to write about a particular topic. when writing your current events, even when selecting your topic for your research paper, there's something that's going to burn in you that will lead you to write about that topic. So, why I'm mentioning that is because rather than just... Because a lot of times, like in high school, I recall that a lot of the writing assignments were just reports on things when you would simply report information, right? You would just say, okay, let me tell you about this topic. But that's it. It would end there. That, my friends, is actually a huge distinction, a delineation between high school writing and college writing, is that in college writing, we address the implications of things. We reaffirm, why something matters. We answer the so what question, right? We address the significance of it, yeah? So let's actually revisit the conclusions of those very same essays that we saw. Remember that we looked at number one was the fossil fuel ones and about switching over to a microscopic algae. And then the other one was about the rough transition for veterans from active service to civilian life, right? So these are the direct conclusions from those. So as I read these to you, bear in mind these things, right? For what a conclusion should do, and decide if the student did a good job. Okay, conclusion for the first one. We have a limited amount of time to pull back from the amount of finite fuels that we consume and to look for renewable sources of energy like biofuels produced from algae. With serious consequences to come from using fossil fuels, such as strong greenhouse effects, creative solutions are required. Change is required to occur at the highest levels of power to ensure that money is being directed to the right facets in order to ensure preservation of the environment. Algae can be a strong foundation as a renewable source of energy. This is a topic that still requires time and intellect to be fully explored. Okay, look at what this student did. The student absolutely restated, reaffirmed what their project was, or their whole reason for writing this, like what was the whole point, right? And they answered the so what question, right? Here's why it matters, with serious consequences to come from using fossil fuels. Here's why it matters. Here's what we have to do, right? This was the other one, which was, since they did offer solutions, what should the reader do or think after reading your paper? And what they ended with is that it's still a topic that requires time and intellect to be fully explored. So it's like, it's still something that requires further investigation and development. And this writer recognized that, okay? Thus leaving us with our final takeaway. Because that's the thing, is that some topics are complex and are still under development and require still more research, and you as a writer are not expected to have all the answers. Nope, you can even finish with that and let the reader know that aspect of your topic. So as you're looking at readings for class, or even picking up the newspaper and reading articles, pay attention to the conclusions. Remember, that's the ultimate takeaway that you are left with as a reader. So, hope this has all helped. We looked at intros, we looked at thesis statements, and now we end with conclusions. If you have any questions, please let me know.